Hey guys, how's it going? It's Danconia and welcome back to a discussion on the Overwatch League. So, it's time to ask the question, why is the Overwatch League so darn marketable? Well, there's a few things, and it kind of highlighted my attention in the latest weeks of games, right? So, the Overwatch League this week, if you have missed it, then where have you been, has been on the road to Atlanta. And yes, you could say there aren't really on paper blockbuster games, but save that for the Overwatch League roundup because there are a few. But it still does really well, right? And to highlight this, on at the same time on the Saturday was the ESL 1 Cologne, which is it's a CS:GO high-profile tournament, right? Yes, it was beating OWL for viewers on Twitch, but CSGO will do that for a long time because CSGO has such an incredible esports base. I think it was at something like 200k viewers, the mainstream. So, yeah, there's nothing you can do about that at the moment, and OWL will grow with time. But the thing is, actually, in many respects, OWL outbeat that CSGO tournament. Now, why is that? Well, OWL had about 100k viewers on Twitch, which yes is down on last season, but it is stage 3 and nearing the end of the stage 3, and the matches, there wasn't too much to play for the teams, right? I'm thinking of like Atlanta versus Toronto. Well, there's nothing to play in stage 3 for those two. But at the same time, it was being broadcasted on Disney XD, the ESPN app, and ABC. Now, yes, the Overwatch League fluffed their lines with the ABC broadcast, not on the ABC and on the Twitch end. Yes, it's going to go through teething problems because they decided to do separate casts for ABC and for Twitch, because Twitch, most of the viewer base on Twitch is quite knowledgeable about Overwatch, whereas the viewer base on ABC is not necessarily, so they need the more basics explained to them, whereas us Twitch viewers just go, Resident Sleeper, why are you telling us what we already know? So that's why they did two different casts. The thing is, technology didn't actually keep up all that well. But again, that's something they will weed out in the future. But the question is, why are broadcasters like ABC jumping on the bandwagon of the Overwatch League, and they've never jumped on the bandwagon of, say, the ESL 1 Cologne, or any CSGO competition, or any LoL competition, or anything like that? Now, the reason for this, I think, is because of the backing the Overwatch League has got and the way it's been structured. And this is where I think JNATHYN, when he was there, and Blizzard in general have been extremely clever with the Overwatch League. And the way in which they have built such an amazing league itself. So, the league has a lot of high-profile sponsors, right? You've seen State Farm, you've seen Intel, you've seen Omen by HP, but we've also now got Coca-Cola, Bud Light, and people like this. That's high-profile sponsors right there, like really high-profile, so that's really good for the league. And it gets a lot of exposure. And then you've got high-profile sponsors for teams as well. What makes the Overwatch League such an attractive prospect is the money that flows through the league. So, like, an attractive prospect for a team is like, can we make money out of this? Well, you can make money through basically doing well. Yes, some teams don't do very well, but you can guarantee that Shanghai are going to make a lot more money than they did last season. But then it's not just about winning things. The money, yes, it was at least 20 million to enter the league in its first season. It's more than that now. But the amount of sponsorship deals, they will get a share of the sponsorship money from the league, as well as the solo sponsorship deals that the actual teams get. The prize winnings from the league, obviously, but the big thing is the profitability of merch. And when I talk about merch, yes, the Overwatch League store in Fanatics is a massive thing, or at least in the US anyway, because the store in EU and internationally is still absolute trash. Sort it out. But when you talk about merch, you've also got to count in the skin sales, the in-game skin sales, which I think possibly either matches, if not outdoes, the actual physical clothing merch and stuff like that, in terms of just money-wise. So it's a really lucrative league right now. But what makes the league attractive to broadcasters that wouldn't normally broadcast esports, like ABC? Well, I've had this a few times, right? A few people have come into my channel and said, I don't play Overwatch. I've never ever played Overwatch. But I watch the league. The league's awesome. But I've never played the game. And this is something, in my opinion, only the Overwatch League can do. I don't think anyone that watches CSGO tournaments or LoL tournaments have not actually played the game they're watching. Whereas with Overwatch, you can do that. Why? Well, unless you're in the gamer space, or the esports space, you don't know who the teams are in LoL or in CSGO or certain things like that, or Rocket League or whatever. Or even Fortnite, but Fortnite tends to be single players instead of teams, so that kind of lets them off. But you don't know who the teams are, so if you're a complete noob, right, you're not a gamer, you never watched esports before, which I hadn't before the Overwatch League, and you come into, say, a CSGO tournament, or a LoL tournament, and you see Liquid versus Cloud9, or Fanatics, or Ninjas in Pajamas, or whatever. You see all these teams. FaZe. You see these teams, but what do they mean to you? It's just a name. It's just a name. They don't mean anything to you. You've got no allegiance to any of these teams whatsoever because you don't know who they are. You don't know what their background is. You don't know anything about them. Right? But if you've never played Overwatch, haven't got a clue how the game works, but you watch the Overwatch League, you can jump onto a team immediately. Why? Because they're cities. And this is the major thing with the Overwatch League, and this is what makes the Overwatch League so darn marketable. And it's something the Overwatch League is unique for in the esports space. It's city-based. So, when the Overwatch League was announced, and we had the first... Okay, yeah, it was... the teams were released in the first two waves, right? But after we got the second wave of teams, I knew who I was going to support before I'd even seen the roster, before I'd seen the colours, before I'd seen anything. Because there was one team. It was London. Because I'm from the UK, I'm from Europe. And at that time, the only team from that area of the world was London. So hands down, I was going to support London. It doesn't matter what they could have been called. I didn't know they were going to be called London Spitfire, but I knew there was a team that was going to be based and called London. So that was just a no-brainer. London. And if you come into the league and say you live in Shanghai, and this is an example because you don't have to be American. If you live in Shanghai, you can Dragons. Yeah, I support the Dragons. Yeah, they're my home city. Yeah, let's go. Or if you live in Paris. Damn, I'm going to support Paris. Let's go. LA, it's a bit more complicated because it depends which LA you wanna support, but that's kind of a unique thing in the league. But you can come straight into the league with no idea how the game works, but you can automatically find a team, unless of course your city doesn't have a team. But you can find a team and say, damn, I'm supporting them. It's my homeboys. Let's go. And that is what is unique and so darn marketable about the Overwatch League. It's because it has that instant, man, I can support this team. It's crazy. And believe me, if there hadn't have been a London team, and say the first 12 teams, and the only team from the EU was Paris, I would have supported Paris, hands down. Hands down, I would have supported Paris. I would have loved to have seen them done well. So, yeah, Paris, he came in late, and I was never going to support anyone else but London. Even if I'd been supporting Paris and then London had come along, I probably would have switched sides, no offence, but I would have still wanted you to see you do well, but it's a team from the UK. The same as, spoiler alert, if there was a team from Bristol, now a lot of people won't know, if you're in America or whatever, you might not know where Bristol is, but it's a city not very far from me, I would support Bristol, because that's a team very, very close to me. Geographically, I would support them. I would want to see them do so well. But that's a team you'll never see in the Overwatch League because it's not a big enough city to do it. But you see my point, right? You've got that instant affiliation with a team. Doesn't matter whether they're doing badly or well. You can just affiliate with that team. Yes, I have had so many headaches and so many frustrations over London Spitfire because they are so inconsistent. But I won't ever change. I'm not going to change. Nah. You stick with your team, dude. Obviously, there will be some people where, some people like Hangzhou because of their colours. Fair play. I like Hangzhou because of their colours. I've got their bloody Reinhardt skin. I love charging at people with a massively pink Reinhardt skin. I think it's fun. But it still doesn't change the fact that I support London. I have the most London skins and whatever. And it's just because I come from that country. And this is the amazing thing the Overwatch League does. And tying it back to the ABC thing, right? If you've got someone who just got no idea, they can just tune in and say, right, I'm going to support the team that, I live closest to. Or I live in this city, so I'm going to support this team. And you can just do it like that. Instead of going into... I've been guilty of this myself. You go into an esports event like CSGO or whatever. You look at all these teams and like, I ain't got a clue. I don't play CSGO. Yeah, I roughly know how CSGO works, but I don't play CSGO. I don't really have any affiliation with any of these teams. So, what's the point? Why would I watch it? And so I don't. And to this date, the only esports I've ever watched properly is Overwatch League. Yes, I've dabbled in Fortnite, but Fortnite is terrible to watch as an esport. That's the long and short of it. And that's why the Overwatch League is so marketable, because it's unique. It's so darn unique in the way it's built. Would there be something I'd like to see? Yes, there'd be changes I'd like to see. I'd like to see a bigger spread of teams. I think there's too much dominance from America, but that's just my own opinion. I think we need to see more teams from Europe. I'd love to see a Swedish team and stuff like that, because there are some, Giganti is Swedish, I think, or is it Finnish? I can't remember. But there are some really, household names that aren't cities in, say, contenders and stuff like that don't get any recognition from their country because they just haven't got a city in the league. I'd love to see a South American team. God, a Rio de Janeiro team or something. It could be awesome. And we could see that in the future. We won't see it next year, but we could see it in the future. And then we're going to have home games next as well. Going into next year, we're going to be playing home and away games. London will play in London. Paris will play in Paris. And this is where it gets extremely interesting, because no one has done that before. You've never had this thing of home and away games, because these teams really haven't had a home, because they haven't been called a place name. They've just been an organisation. And this is what makes the Overwatch League so great, and what makes me so attached to it. And I'd love to see it do well. But I'm going to leave it here. Why is the Overwatch League so marketable? Well, there's your answer. Because it's structured differently and uniquely compared to other esports ventures. And it's structured itself so that every team can have a fan base, and everyone can hop on a team no matter whether they know Overwatch or not. But for now, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, give it a like, subscribe if you're new, and I will see you in the next video. See you then!